It's pretty wild to think about what our online habits, especially how we game, might say about who we are. Turns out there could be these hidden connections, a real psychological mystery that researchers are just now starting to piece together. So today, we're going to put on our detective hats and investigate a pretty fascinating case. And the big question we're trying to answer is this: what's the real story behind certain personality traits and what some people call problem gaming? We're going to follow the clues from a brand new study that just came out and hopefully crack this case wide open. Okay, so every good mystery has its main subjects, right? Let's get to know the two key players in our investigation: a specific kind of behavior and a very particular set of personality traits. First up, we've got Internet Gaming Disorder, or IGD for short. Now, this is not just about loving video games or playing them a lot. We're talking about something on a whole different level, something that major health organizations are looking at seriously. It's when gaming becomes so constant and all-consuming that it starts causing real problems in your life. Like losing control over it and pushing everything else, school, work, friends, to the side. And on the other side of our mystery, we have traits associated with borderline personality disorder, or BPD. And just to be super clear, we're not talking about a full diagnosis here. We're looking at the characteristics themselves, things like really high impulsivity, finding it incredibly hard to manage emotions, and just a general tendency toward feeling negative. So now that you've met our two subjects, you can probably see why researchers immediately zeroed in on BPD traits as the prime suspect in this whole problem gaming mystery. On the surface, the theory looked like a slam dunk. I mean, just look at the rap sheet here. They share so much common ground. Both involve high impulsivity and that struggle with managing emotions. The working theory was pretty straightforward. Maybe people with these traits get drawn into these huge online worlds as a way to escape or just cope with all those intense negative feelings. It made perfect sense. And the first piece of hard evidence seemed to confirm it. The study found what's called a moderate positive correlation. In plain English, that just means that as the BPD traits went up, the signs of internet gaming disorder went up too. Case closed, right? Well, not so fast. Any good investigator knows that you can't stop there. Just because two things seem to happen together doesn't mean one is causing the other. The researchers knew they had to dig way deeper and see if another culprit was hiding in the shadows. Think about it like this. It's a classic example. Ice cream sales and crime rates often go up at the exact same time. So does eating a scoop of mint chip make you want to break the law? Of course not. There's a hidden factor, a confounding variable, which in this case is hot weather. Heat makes more people buy ice cream, and it can make tempers flare, leading to more crime. The researchers wondered, what's the hot weather in our case? So they decided to bring in a whole lineup of other usual suspects for questioning. They looked at things like depression, anxiety, stress, alcohol and drug use, and even antisocial symptoms. All of these are known to be linked to both BPD traits and problem gaming. It was time to see who really did it. This was it, the big moment. What was going to happen when our prime suspect, BPD traits, had to stand in a lineup next to all these other heavy hitters? Well, what they found was a total plot twist. The moment of truth came when they reran all the numbers, but this time they statistically accounted for the influence of depression, anxiety, and all those other factors. And just like that, poof, the direct link completely vanished. The once strong case against BPD traits as a unique cause of problem gaming just fell apart. It was a classic case of mistaken identity. And wow, this chart tells the rest of the story. It shows the unique predictive power each factor had. Look at BPD traits, almost zero. Gender, specifically being male, was a moderate predictor. But look at that massive bar on the right. That, my friends, is depression. It turned out to be the single strongest, most powerful predictor of internet gaming disorder in the entire study. So, the mystery is solved. But what does this actually mean in the real world for gamers and for mental health? Well, it changes the conversation completely. The study's authors put it this way, saying the results highlight the power of negative affect. That's just a scientific way of saying general negative feelings like sadness, anxiety, stress. And depression is a huge part of that. What this really suggests is that the link they first saw wasn't about BPD traits specifically, but about the depression that can often go along with them. Maybe problem gaming isn't about a certain personality type,
but about a very human experience, trying to cope with deep emotional pain.
All right, let's close the case file by reviewing the key takeaways. First and foremost, depression is a way stronger predictor of problem gaming than BPD traits are. Second, this really suggests that for some people, gaming might be a coping mechanism, a way to escape the feelings of depression. And that leads to a really practical point for doctors and therapists. If you're treating someone for depression, especially a young guy, it might be a good idea to also ask about their gaming habits. And finally, we've got to remember this study looked at college students, so we'll need more research to see if this holds true for everyone.
And this whole investigation really leaves us with one last powerful question to think about. If problem gaming is so often an escape, then maybe the most important question we should be asking isn't about the game at all, but about what, in our real lives, we're all trying to escape from.